The Vatican is the holy abode of Catholicism and the center of the clergy. However, historical facts show that this unique enclave state has room not only for sacred matters and divine missions. In this video, I invite you to discover the most high-profile scandals and revelations of the Vatican. Enjoy watching. Roberto Calvi was an Italian banker and president of Banco Ambrosiano. In 1982, he was found dead in London. According to the official version, Calvi committed suicide, but conspiracy theorists believe otherwise. Banco Ambrosiano was closely linked to the Institute for the Works of Religion, which performs banking functions. The Vatican Bank held a significant share in Ambrosiano, and as it later turned out, illegal operations and the financing of shadow structures, including criminal groups, were conducted through this bank. As soon as this scandalous information appeared in global news outlets, the Vatican tried by all means to deflect suspicion, calling it slander. The only person who could have revealed the secret data about the Roman Catholic Church's connection with Ambrosiano was the bank's president, Roberto Calvi. However, it was soon reported that the banker had died. His suspicious death attracted the attention of the global public. But despite this, the story of the Vatican's connection with illegal activities, like the circumstances of Calvi's death, was quickly forgotten. It is entirely possible that the Roman Catholic Church's involvement was fabricated, but one must admit that these coincidences look extremely suspicious. There is a very unpleasant chapter in the history of the Vatican that can never be forgotten. In 1947, American counterintelligence agent Robert Clayton Mudd infiltrated the Vatican monastery of St. Jerome and discovered leaders of the Croatian fascist organization disguised as monks. The investigations revealed that they had entered the Vatican via so-called rat lines, evacuation routes for Nazis from Europe to South America through the Vatican. Astonishingly, an entire coalition was created to organize the rat lines, which included Pope Pius XII, Bishop Alois Hudal, and many other clergy members of the Roman Catholic Church. Other European priests also helped the fascists by setting up support points in their monasteries. But why would all these clergymen want to help the Nazis? Before his death, Pope Pius XII admitted that he saw Nazi Germany as a tool to fight against the USSR, as he was a staunch opponent of communism. However, most historians believe that another reason for such assistance was that the fascists paid the Vatican huge sums for their safety. In any case, the fact of aiding the Nazis remains a fact. Thanks to the efforts of the Pope and his associates, the lives of such infamous criminals as Adolf Eichmann, Franz Stangl, and Gustav Wagner were saved. In 1998, a horrific incident occurred in the Vatican that still raises many questions. Late in the evening on May 4th, Nun Annalena Meyer heard noise and screams coming from the apartment of Commander Alois Estermann, located in the Vatican barracks. She reported the incident to Junior Corporal Marcel Riedi. When Meyer and Riedi entered the apartment, they discovered 3 dead bodies: Junior Swiss Guard Corporal Cedric Tournay, the commander of the guard Alois Estermann, and his wife Gladys Meza Romero. What exactly happened in the apartment and who committed this triple murder remains a mystery to this day, but according to the official investigation, the perpetrator was Cedric Tournay. On that day, the junior corporal, armed with a Sig Sauer P220 service pistol, came to Estermann's apartment. When the commander's wife opened the door, he burst inside. Upon seeing Estermann, Tournay fired 2 shots that killed the commander. Then he shot his wife 4 times before taking his own life. It is believed that Tournay committed the crime out of resentment. A few months earlier, Estermann had refused to award him the Benemerenti Medal, which is usually given after 3 years of service. The reason for this was that one night, the junior corporal violated the rules and spent the night outside the Vatican walls. What was surprising in this story was that the investigation was conducted by a judge who had no relevant experience. This drew criticism and gave rise to many conspiracy theories. It is possible that entirely different events took place inside Estermann's apartment that evening, leading to the death of 3 people. Albino Luciani, later known as Pope John Paul I, was born on October 17, 1912 in the Italian commune of Canale d'Agordo. Despite growing up in a poor family, he was drawn to education and faith in God from an early age. After finishing school, Albino entered the seminary in Feltre and later transferred to the seminary in Belluno. In 1935, he was ordained a priest and enrolled at the Gregorian University. There, he earned a doctorate in theology. Luciani went down in history as the Smiling Pope because of his kindness, simplicity, and big heart. The priest helped people and categorically opposed any criminal activity. After World War II, Luciani was appointed Bishop of the Diocese of Vittorio Veneto. He held this position until September 28, 1978, when he ascended to the papal throne. Albino Luciani was a unique figure in the history of the papacy. His interests differed from those of the Vatican, he read different literature, he was elected within a day, and he rejected the medieval tradition of coronation, replacing it with a solemn mass on the steps of St. Peter's Basilica. He also became the first pope to take a double name and the last Italian to sit on the papal throne. The new pontiff rejected scripted texts and preferred to improvise in his speeches, trying to show that despite his high rank, he remained close to ordinary people. But the most significant difference between John Paul V and other popes was that he planned major changes in the structure of the Vatican. He was particularly concerned about the Church's financial affairs. He intended to investigate multi-million-dollar frauds and remove those involved in abuses. His actions were watched with horror by the Roman Curia, which feared the consequences of such a papacy. But unfortunately, John Paul V never had the chance to implement his plans, as just 33 days after his election on September 28, 1978, the pontiff was found dead in his bed with sheets of plans in his hands and glasses on his nose. According to the official version, he died of a heart attack. Many historians still disagree that John Paul II died for this reason. They believe the Pope may have been poisoned during dinner, as his reforms interfered with the Vatican's illegal schemes. This version is denied by the Roman Catholic Church, so the true cause of Albino Luciani's death will forever remain a mystery. Cardinals of the Roman Catholic Church, despite their strict religious vows, do not shy away from the wealth and luxury of the world. And although most clergy try not to flaunt their wealth, it is difficult to hide expensive items from the press. Journalists are increasingly noticing that many Vatican cardinals own exclusive Swiss watches from well-known brands, with prices reaching tens of thousands of euros. The cars used by high-ranking figures are also not always modest. Among them are models from expensive car brands such as BMW and Mercedes-Benz, sometimes with custom interior designs. Cardinals also pay a great deal of attention to their clothing, and although cassocks look quite simple, they are in fact custom-made from expensive fabrics by renowned fashion houses. Among modern pontiffs, the most famous fashion lover was Pope Benedict XVI. He enjoyed wearing a crimson velvet mozzetta trimmed with snow-white fur, as well as various headgear. At events, he would appear each time in different luxurious Roman hats and precious papal tiaras. In 2007, Esquire magazine named the Pope's red loafers the best fashion accessory of the year. After that, Benedict XVI was nicknamed the Pope of Prada. All luxury items and expensive clothing worn by Vatican dignitaries draw strong criticism and create an image that is completely inconsistent with the moral principles and mission of the clergy of the Roman Catholic Church. Popes, like most Vatican priests, are not allowed to marry. This is due to the traditions and rules of the Catholic Church, which require celibacy. Celibacy means a complete rejection of marriage and family life in favor of serving God and achieving spiritual purity. For this reason, the Vatican is considered the most chaste state in the world. But due to numerous sexual scandals, the truth of this view is questionable. Many people may not believe such stories because they tarnish the holy name of the Church. Nevertheless, many incidents are known involving sexual abuse and homosexual relationships among cardinals, and all of them have undeniable evidence. Reports of sexual crimes within the Vatican began to emerge in the 1970s. At that time, these reports were carefully hidden, but by the 2000s, it was no longer possible to suppress such stories. In 2013, it became known that former Archbishop of the Roman Catholic Church, Józef Wesolowski, was caught in several sexual relationships with underage boys. Wesolowski met them during a mission in Santo Domingo and offered them money for sexual services. The former archbishop's guilt was fully proven, and in 2014, he was stripped of his title. Another confirmed sexual scandal became known in 2018. This time, Cardinal Theodore Edgar McCarrick was at the center of events. He was accused of numerous cases of sexual abuse against seminarians. The priest was also defrocked. In addition, in 2024, McCarrick faced new criminal charges, but due to dementia, he was unable to be punished. It is worth noting that these are just 2 proven cases of sexual crimes among Vatican clergy. In reality, there are many more. The Institute for the Works of Religion, IOR, is a dicastery of the Roman Curia and also serves as the Vatican Bank. This institution was founded in 1942 by Pope Pius XII. You might be surprised, but a large number of scandalous incidents are associated with the Institute for the Works of Religion. In the 1970s and 1980s, the Vatican Bank was implicated in the case of financier Roberto Calvi. He was accused of money laundering and fraud involving the IOR, but the Vatican persistently denied its involvement in these affairs, and over time, this story was forgotten. But already in the 1990s, the Institute for the Works of Religion again came under suspicion of participating in fictitious real estate operations and hiding large-scale financial fraud. In the early 2000s, after a change in leadership, a reorganization was carried out inside the Vatican Bank aimed at eliminating corruption schemes. But just over 10 years later, after the publication of provocative articles and books by journalist Gianluigi Nuzzi, the institution again found itself at the center of a scandal. In 2012, it became known that the director of the Vatican Bank, Paolo Cipriani, and his deputy, Massimo Tulli, resigned. The reason for this decision was the arrest of Monsignor Nunzio Scarano, as well as Italian intelligence officer Giovanni Maria Zito and financial broker Giovanni Carenzio. These individuals were accused of corruption, slander, and fraud. According to investigators, Scarano paid Zito 400,000 euros to organize the illegal transfer of 20 million euros in cash from Switzerland to Italy. According to Scarano, he did not want to commit a crime, but was only trying to help his friends. Despite many scandals, the Institute for the Works of Religion continues to be an instrument of support for the Catholic Church and its missions. At the same time, all these incidents serve as a reminder that even the most sacred institutions are not immune to human weaknesses and financial crimes. For centuries, the Vatican has been known for numerous secrets hidden from outsiders. Within the walls of this cradle of Catholicism, not only religious traditions were born, but also many mysterious orders and secret societies. Inside the Vatican, organizations have continually emerged and still exist today, uniting individuals who possess influence over society and politics, as well as access to special knowledge. The exact number of such communities and their goals remain unknown. The most famous among them is the Jesuit order. The Jesuit order was founded in 1534 by Saint Ignatius of Loyola and confirmed by Pope Paul III. Jesuits differ from other monastic orders in that they take a fourth vow, obedience to the Pope in matters of missions. Additionally, the order allows its members to lead a secular lifestyle, but it is important to keep their affiliation with the organization secret. The Jesuit order was one among many orders and communities. There are many theories about the Vatican's connections with the Rosicrucians, Templars, and Freemasons, secret brotherhoods surrounded by mystical ideas. Furthermore, it is believed that within the Vatican exist groups of guardians of ancient manuscripts and artifacts, whose mission remains hidden. The Roman Catholic Church has often played a controversial role in many events throughout human history. The AIDS epidemic, which began in 1981, was no exception. Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, AIDS, develops in a person as a result of infection with HIV. In the 1980s-1990s, the world was experiencing a real epidemic of this disease, with the number of patients growing at an incredible rate. For example, in 1988, the number of infected people was 3 million. And in just 9 years, it had increased to 22 million. Since HIV is most often transmitted through sexual contact, the most effective tools in combating the epidemic were condoms. However, the Catholic Church continued to prohibit the use of this type of contraceptive and called for combating the epidemic through chastity. Naturally, such statements by the Pope and other high-ranking officials drew a storm of criticism. Some even accused the Vatican of supporting the spread of the disease. On the other hand, the Catholic Church actively engaged in and continues to provide assistance to AIDS patients. For this reason, the Vatican's role in the epidemic once again proved to be controversial. This dual approach reflects the complexity of balancing religious principles with the necessity of refraining from interfering with modern medicine. Many people believe that today's clergy behave inappropriately due to the corruption of the modern world. However, the Vatican's actions that contradict any religion have been known since ancient times. A striking example of this is the practice of selling indulgences, which began in the 1470s under Pope Sixtus IV. An indulgence in the Catholic Church is the remission of punishment for sins confessed to a priest in the sacrament of confession. Of course, not all offenders could obtain an indulgence, as not all sins could be forgiven, but Pope Sixtus IV came up with the ingenious idea of simplifying the process of absolution while also enriching the Church. He ordered the sale of indulgences. Surprisingly, one could buy absolution in almost every Catholic parish. Prices depended on the severity of the sin. For example, the murder of a relative was priced at 5 silver coins, while absolution for sacrilege cost 9 coins. People who could not afford a full indulgence could obtain partial forgiveness for the amount of money they had. This practice did not last long, but the Church managed to enrich itself during that time. The sale of indulgences under Sixtus IV became one of the reasons for the growing discontent that in the next century gave rise to reformist movements and fundamental changes in the Christian world. For many years, the Vatican has actively sought to interfere in secular politics using various methods. Even the official philosophical doctrine of Catholicism, based on the teachings of Thomas Aquinas, states that power must be subject to the Church and the followers of Christ. In the early 20th century, the Vatican began developing active relations with German leaders. After the October Revolution of 1917, Catholic priests began participating in anti-Soviet politics, and during the Genoa Conference in 1922, the Vatican even attempted to intervene in the internal affairs of Soviet Russia. Popes Pius XI and Pius XII played a significant role in the anti-Soviet campaign and in supporting the Nazi movement. Moreover, the Vatican also tries to actively participate in the elections of leaders of European countries. The Vatican has permanent observer status at the UN and diplomatic relations with 184 countries. This allows the reigning pope to be involved in the political affairs of many states. Undoubtedly, the influence of the Church in the modern world is constantly decreasing, but nevertheless, the Vatican continues to be a significant authority in European politics, especially in countries with traditionally strong Catholic influence. In 2012, a terrible scandal broke out in the Vatican, which became known as Vatileaks. During this incident, secret documents were leaked, including personal letters of Pope Benedict XVI. The documents were stolen by the Pope's butler, Paolo Gabriele, and handed over to journalist Gianluigi Nuzzi. The journalist not only disclosed part of the documents, but also published a whole book, His Holiness, The Secret Papers of Benedict XVI, which was released in May 2012. In this book, Gianluigi Nuzzi revealed scandalous details about the life of the Roman Catholic Church, related to corruption and crimes. All information was confirmed by the stolen secret documents and confidential letters. The Vatican could not ignore what had happened, and on May 25, 2012, Paolo Gabriele was arrested. During a search of the butler's apartment, boxes of documents and copies of correspondence were found, as well as a check for $100,000, a gold bar, and copying equipment. Paolo Gabriele claimed that he acted out of love for the Church and tried to oppose the influence of two powerful clans on the Pope. However, the court did not believe him and sentenced the butler to 3 years in prison, but the sentence was reduced to 18 months after public apologies to the Pope. At the end of December 2012, Pope Benedict XVI announced the pardon of Paolo Gabriele. Interestingly, in the fall of 2015, a new scandal occurred with the leak of secret documents of the Holy See, which became known as Vatileaks II. Perhaps the most famous scandalous incident involving the Vatican is the case of Emanuela Orlandi's disappearance. This story began on June 22, 1983, when 15-year-old Emanuela Orlandi, the daughter of a Vatican employee, went missing without a trace. The last time the girl was seen was at a bus stop as she returned home from a music lesson. According to witness accounts, Emanuela got into a dark-colored car and left. She was never seen again. The girl's parents, worried that she hadn't returned home, contacted the police. Emanuela was searched for throughout the Vatican, but no trace or clues were ever found. It was as if the girl had vanished. More than 40 years have passed since Emanuela's disappearance. During this time, many theories have emerged to explain what happened. One theory is that Emanuela may have been kidnapped by members of criminal organizations to blackmail the Vatican and extract political or financial concessions. However, according to the most widespread version, clergy of the Roman Catholic Church were involved in her disappearance. It is possible that high-ranking Vatican officials knew what happened to Emanuela and deliberately concealed the truth to avoid scandal or protect influential individuals. The Orlandi family has already come to terms with the idea that the reasons for Emanuela's disappearance may never be known. But in 2019, they received a mysterious photograph of an angel sculpture over one of the tombs in the Teutonic Cemetery. The parents believed their daughter might be buried there. They obtained permission for exhumation, but in the two graves beneath the monument, there were no remains, not even those of German princesses Sophie von Hohenlohe and Charlotte Friederike of Mecklenburg, who were supposed to be buried there. This incident raised even more questions and did nothing to help solve the case of Emanuela Orlandi's disappearance. The legislation of the Roman Catholic Church preserves the right of a bishop to resign from the position of head of the church. This happens very rarely, however. On February 28, 2013, Pope Benedict XVI announced his voluntary resignation. This was the first case of resignation by one's own will in the last 600 years, when the last such event occurred with Pope Gregory XII. During his shocking statement, Benedict tried to explain the reason for his departure. According to the Pope, he could no longer hold the position due to his advanced age and health condition. But many experts believe that this was only part of the truth. Firstly, at the time of his election in 2005, Benedict was already elderly, but this did not prevent him from reigning for almost 8 years. Secondly, other popes also held the position in old age, and despite their health problems, did not announce their resignation. The real reason for Benedict XVI's departure could have been the numerous church scandals that the pontiff faced. In the years leading up to this event, many unpleasant incidents actually occurred, including the leak of secret documents and the disclosure of scandalous details about the life of the Roman Catholic Church. Another fact in favor of other reasons for the resignation was that after his departure, Benedict retained his clarity of mind and good health. He actively commented on church issues to the press and remained capable until the end of his days. Benedict XVI died at the age of 95, 9 years after his voluntary resignation. Canonization in the Church is the process by which the Church authority adds the name of a deceased person to the list of saints. In the Vatican, it is customary to canonize not all popes, but many. According to statistics, out of 266 pontiffs, people have been included in this list. But sometimes those chosen for sainthood have dark spots in their biographies or controversial actions that cause disputes among believers and historians. Among such popes was Pius XII, who held the papal throne from March 2, 1939 to October 9, 1958. In 1965, Pope Paul VI initiated the beatification process for Pius XII, the first step towards sainthood. However, the process was halted due to Pius XII's controversial role during World War II. This pope is indeed one of the most contentious figures in Vatican history. He is known for his involvement in establishing evacuation routes for fascists, supporting certain authoritarian regimes, and conservatism that hindered reforms within the Catholic Church. In addition, he completely turned a blind eye to the Holocaust. Pius XII did not publicly condemn Nazi crimes and took no decisive action to save the victims of the regime. Despite attempts by his followers to have him canonized, fortunately, this did not happen. After all, it would be strange for a saintly man to have supported the Nazi regime during his lifetime. The Vatican Apostolic Archive, formerly known as the Vatican Secret Archive, is a repository of important and unique documents and literature. The history of this place began in 1610 under Pope Paul, when the repository was separated from the Vatican Library. Currently, the archive contains about 35,000 volumes of various documents, including letters by Michelangelo and the famous manuscript Dictatus Papae. The total length of the archive shelves exceeds 85 kilometers. The archive is divided into several important collections: the Curia collection, the archives of papal representatives, documents of individual families and private persons, materials from Vatican councils, as well as documents of orders, monasteries, and abbeys. It is believed that this place also holds documents whose existence should remain unknown, such as various proofs of the existence of extraterrestrial civilizations and important biblical artifacts. These rumors arose for two main reasons. First, the archive is the property of the reigning pope, and only he has the right to decide which documents and artifacts no one will ever learn about. Second, access to the repository's holdings is restricted. Until the 19th century, no one except the pontiff could visit the archive. Now, security measures have been relaxed. Scholars and people who have received special permission may visit the archive. One way or another, only a limited circle of people can access the available collection. In 1054, an important historical event occurred, the Great Schism, during which Christianity split into Eastern Orthodox and Roman Catholic branches. After this, the Holy See began an active struggle against heresies, that is, any deviations from religious canons. Various methods were used for this purpose. At church councils, the teachings of figures such as Arnold of Brescia, Joachim of Fiore, Amalric of Bena, and Peter Olivi were anathematized. The Catholic Church began persecuting heretics. Those who were caught were executed by burning at the stake. Despite such efforts by Roman Catholic clergy, heresy could not be completely eradicated, and in the 13th century, Pope Innocent III ordered the creation of the Inquisition, which was constantly being refined. Astonishingly, the Inquisition still exists in the Vatican today and is known as the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith. When Catholic clergy realized that they could not stop the emergence of other religious movements around the world, they legalized certain sects to create competition with heretical teachings through preaching. But this decision also yielded no results. The formation of centralized states significantly weakened the Vatican's power over monarchs, leading to a gradual decline in its influence in Europe. There are many known cases in Vatican history of the legitimization of dubious relics. As a rule, such artifacts were presented as divine miracles and proof of Christ's presence on earth. These relics attracted pilgrims who made donations. A vivid example of such relics is the fragments of the True Cross, which appeared in churches in various eras. Clergy claimed their authenticity, although some people remained skeptical. Another commonly used relic to attract parishioners is the bones of saints, said to possess miraculous properties. Vatican dignitaries, including the popes themselves, never allowed scientists to study such remains, arguing that it would desecrate the saints and God himself. Therefore, no one knows to whom these remains actually belong. Undoubtedly, there are true relics and items in the churches around the world that affirm the existence of God. Some have demonstrated inexplicable but proven miracles more than once. However, people's faith in such sacred objects has been undermined by the legitimization of a large number of counterfeit relics. In the 2010s, Italian law enforcement agencies conducted an investigation that revealed suspicious financial operations by the Vatican. Investigators discovered that funds from church institution accounts were regularly directed toward expensive real estate projects. These operations aroused suspicion due to a lack of transparency and clear explanations of the origin of the funds and the goals of the investments. Special attention was drawn to deals involving elite London real estate. In 2019, it became known that Cardinal and former prefect of the Vatican Congregation for the Causes of Saints, Giovanni Angelo Becciu, purchased 49 apartments in the luxurious London district of Chelsea with a total cost of $200 million. The money was first funneled through 4 shadow financial companies and then into London. Not only Becciu, but also 9 other Vatican figures were involved in organizing these schemes. Investigators also questioned where the cardinal could have obtained such a large sum of money. It turned out that the money came from global donations to the Catholic Church. This proves that behind Becciu's schemes stood more influential figures, whose names remain unknown. And that's all from me. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon. Your engagement is the best reward for me. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.